Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Now, the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at Just Saying No GWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget to get us in your ears on Spotify at Just Saying Football. Buddy, we're in conference championship times.
It's getting
It,
real.
it's getting super real. Both the number one seeds won last week.
Yeah,
Uh,
crushing some Cinderella stories that we were excited for.
Packers were this close, but the late interception by Jordan Love ultimately killed them, secured the win for San Fran. This week, pretty simple. Both games are on Sunday, one at 3, one at 6:30. AFC's up first, NFC's up next. Let's just jump right into it because we have the Kansas City Chiefs making their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Baltimore's favored in this one by -3.5 with an over-under here of 44.5. Now, Kansas City, sixth straight AFC championship game under the reign of Mahomes, and they just have the Bills number. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, the last time these guys faced was 2021, and Baltimore had, won 36-35. We haven't seen these quarterbacks as much as we need to be seeing them. And we're finally seeing them on one of the biggest stages right here, AFC Championship. Like you mentioned, Mahomes with his sixth straight. And, Lamar now looking to make his first Super Bowl after what's been kind of an MVP season for him. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a close one as we see with the 3.5. I mean, I could definitely see Mahomes going back and going to his fourth Super Bowl. But what are you looking most forward to? Are you looking more for Lamar to make his first or the reign of Mahomes to continue?
I'm hoping for Lamar to make it in his first Super Bowl. This is his first AFC Championship game as well. So let's see if he can do it all in this one year. That being said, when I'm focusing on this game, looking at the defenses
Mhm.
mainly. Both have been playing fantastic all season. We're not going to really relate to you guys the Ravens stats. It's a little skewed given that they only played in one game so far this postseason. So you take in what they've been doing all year. It's been great. The one thing I am worried about with KC right now is that in the postseason, because we've had two games under their belt, they've averaged 129 rush yards allowed per game. Right now, what we've seen with the Ravens last week is their ability to run the ball really well, not just with Lamar Jackson, who had 100 yards on the ground game, but Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and now Dalvin Cook was getting a little bit more involved in that game as well. If they're able to keep it going, keep the clock running, Mahomes off the field, and they're able to just run the ball well, I'm a little bit worried for Kansas City's defense in that one. It's going to be a big task for Nick Bolton going against this really good running back group that they're going to have.
Yeah, and we saw that run defense come into light last week. Obviously, like you said, there's big play potential here for the Ravens. So it's really going to be on that, Kansas City defense. Both of these teams right now in the league, not even in the AFC, in the playoffs, in the whole league right now, both teams are the two top scoring defenses. So I'm looking at this game as an interesting. I feel like it's going to start really slow, and then they'll be able to pick up in the later time. I do think that if you are going down to it, we have seen Lamar improve on a big narrative of his, which was that he struggled in the playoffs. And now, for him to be able to be here, he has to take on, the second best scoring defense in Kansas City, and Mahomes has to take on the best scoring defense. So for those two matchups, I am expecting a little bit lower scoring. When you look at how great these quarterbacks are, we don't talk enough about how this year was the year that they needed to get more talent. And we've been kind of hounding that. So I think that Kansas City, and when it comes down to it, they still have Pacheco, they still have this defense. If they can make Lamar make a mistake, I can see them winning this game, but it is going to be close. And I do believe it's going to be lower scoring than we think. But one guy you mentioned, Gus Edwards, I think he could have a big game this week. I know he has a pretty low line, and if Kansas City has anything, they are the 18th worst rushing defense. So, like you said, that's a bright spot.
Yeah, right now also Ravens, two big news coming out of camp. Mark Andrews is a full participant in practice today. It is Wednesday we're recording this, so he was a full participant. There's potential for him to play in this week's game. He practiced last week on Thursday and on Friday, but they didn't activate him for the divisional game. And also Marlon Humphrey, who's been out since week 17 against the Dolphins, was a limited participant in practice today. Could be going in the right direction, which only adds considering that we know Kansas City's going to be without Joe Thuney in this one, which is a huge hurt to their offensive line. And we've seen Mahomes struggle this season when that offensive line is not playing well. If you look at what they did this regular season, and also sadly, your guy Isaiah Pacheco did not practice today with an ankle injury. So these are some big guys that haven't practiced. Joe
Yeah.
Thuney is officially actually ruled out. And that's
Yeah.
something I'm worried about. I'm locking in Baltimore for this one. I do think though Ladarius Sneed is going to lock down Zay Flowers. So OBJ, the running back group, Rashad Bateman, they're all going to need to step up in this one.
Yeah, give me Kansas City. I think that Mahomes goes to his fourth Super Bowl here. This is, been one of his less productive Januaries as far as passing yards, but I mean, they are just getting the job done. Without Pacheco, I do expect him to start airing it out as best as he can this weekend. We saw, MVS make a big play last week, Kelsey scoring 2 touchdowns. You still have to stop Mahomes and Kelsey as well. It's going to be a big assignment for Roquan Smith this week. But I got to tell you, at the end of the day, to put these guys in a 2 minute drive in a close game, I will take Pat Mahomes, who is 6-2 on the road right now.
Yeah, and it's been playing great so far in the playoffs after just
Yeah.
beating the Bills team. All right, let's move this into our NFC Championship game. When the Detroit Lions make their way to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. The 49ers are favored in this one by -7 with an over-under here of 51. That is a massive spread.
Oh yeah.
Debo Samuel has not practiced so far this week. It's not a fracture in his shoulder, they've said, but it was the injured shoulder that he had all season. So
Mhm.
something to keep in mind going into this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so without Debo, you have to look to all your other weapons. Thank God San Francisco's got him. You got George Kittle, big score last week. Ayuk, who, it has a great matchup this week, and then you have CMC, who's a scoring machine. So as long as this Detroit Lions, offense can kind of keep pace, which we've seen them do in the past, I do expect this to be a bigger shootout than we would like. I know that the front sevens of these teams are very good, but at the end of the day, it is a very interesting formula for both Jared Goff and Brock Purdy to have huge days. Amon Ra and Brandon Ayuk to have huge days. And, both of these teams have great running games. They can beat you in so many ways. I think that this is definitely, a great NFC championship matchup. Both of these teams are going to present such, explosive offenses. And, they've just both been so fun to watch this year.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing for me that I'm worried about right now is how consistent this 49ers offense can play, especially with what we saw last week. And right now, the Lions, their entire secondary has struggled all season. They've shown up big, getting interceptions here and there. But so far in the playoffs, they've let up 338 pass yards. So there's an opportunity
Wow.
for San Francisco to take advantage considering what we've seen. But after last week against the Packers, you have to wonder, is there a blueprint that the Lions can copy to slow down what we've seen from Brock Purdy and the rest of this team?
Yeah, you just got to put Aiden Hutchinson on the right side of the line, keep him away from Trent Williams. And, on the other side, you're going to have this Lions O line, playing at their best. We saw Frank Ragnow go down last week, and then he came back in. It's such a tough guy, but the O line for the Lions has been huge. We saw a lot of plays last week where the Lions run game was running through the polling of the offensive line in Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker. And it's very interesting to see how both of these tackles are going to play against Chase Young and Nick Bosa, who have been great since they've been together. I think the real X factor there is just keeping Jared Goff upright, keeping the run game flowing, because that is how you're going to beat San Francisco.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, especially with what we've seen. He's not throwing the best under pressure, but when that pocket's clean, like he's had all playoffs, he's delivering dimes. He's been playing really well. I'm locking in Detroit. They have a handful of injuries right now. Laporta, Jackson, Ragnow. I do expect all of them to play despite the injuries that they had. They came out last week and they played. They're going to do it again in the conference championship. I think just the way that they've played, it's just been fantastic this entire postseason. I think it's a nice little Cinderella story. I'm looking forward to a Ravens Lions Super Bowl.
I like that. So, as you know, I've already picked the Chiefs to oppose you. I am going to take San Francisco, giving us a rematch of the Super Bowl just a few years ago, where Mahomes actually pulled out his first Super Bowl championship in the 10-point comeback against the 49ers. And a lot of these guys have played on the same thing. I think the key here, one thing that you mentioned earlier in the playoffs, Sean, was maybe how can Detroit get over their hump of experience. I think that this is a great amount of experience for this team. I know San Francisco has been here before, but I do like the +7 for Detroit, but I am going to
Agreed.
take San Francisco.
I like that. Which running back is gonna get the most yards, you think, this weekend?
CMC, man. You can't go wrong with him. He had 98 last week, so anybody who had that alternate 100, it's a tough week, but you knew he was scoring. I think that's he has a 2 touchdown potential upside this week, especially with Debo out. They're going to be running a lot of creative plays with him, so I'm excited. I would like to see honestly any combination, but here obviously with my picks, you're getting a San Francisco Kansas City Super Bowl.
I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to end up surprising everyone and be an X factor against this 49ers defense. All right, but that's all the time that we have. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, enjoy the game. Stay tuned for our awards episode coming out during Pro Bowl week. And remember to check us out for the Super Bowl for all of our picks, breakdown, and some other stuff. Always remember to check us out, Just Saying Football on YouTube and Spotify, and Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram for all your article video updates. Thank you guys for checking this out, and thanks for watching us this season.
Enjoy.